I'm here. Sorry. I had to go around my house gathering all the things that are mine for the podcast that have mysteriously been moved to other parts of the house.
Oh, is it because of mom?
No, but my husband, my
Oh,
headphones in the
is
drawer
there
somewhere, my
is there
adapter.
is there a
That,
war on your stuff in your house? Because there's definitely a war on my stuff in my house.
I mean, by war you mean he takes my things and then hides them places where I can't
Okay,
find
wait,
them.
wait. Becky podcasted at mom and dad's, and then like mom came in like three times while she was podcasting. Now mom is at my house. Do you
Trying
think
to
What's
like
the over
how many
under?
times? Like, is she gonna try and book a flight while we're on the podcast and like come in here? Right,
she's
exactly.
gonna
What's the
want
over
to
under?
know. She's gonna want to start planning like the Christmas vacation plans, like right now.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. We are joined today not only by my sisters, but by a DC podcasting legend, Craig, the Nite Batman. I don't actually know your last name. I don't know if you want to use it, but Craig, the Batman of Take Two Podcast and the Take Two Takedown, which I've mentioned many times, is here with us. But before we get to Craig, Lily, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. I have to compare back to school notes for it was my first back to school rodeo recently. So
I cannot
you
wait
can
to
ask
hear
Becky.
about Spanish back to school night. But
I feel like it will not disappoint you.
the most important thing we have to hear about is Becky went to see our podcast heroes. As much as we love the Take Two guys, our actual bona fide unified podcast heroes are Jason Mantzoukas, Paul Scheer, and Jundayan Raphael of How Did This Get Made, and you saw them live. Becky, what was it like?
I I can't express to you, however funny it is when you listen to it as a podcast, as a live show, you're literally wriggling around in like laughter pain. Like you can't stay in your seat because you're laughing so hard. You need to like throw yourself around.
Shai's seen them too, right? Shai can see them.
Jason Mantzoukas' body language or like expressive comedic way that he speaks all on its own is is a show worth watching. And their rapport together really shines when you see them live. And I have to say, I really thought Paul Scheer just did such a good job, like amping
Right?
up the crowd and hosting the show. It was like on like the podcast, you listen to it, you're like, oh, whatever. But when you really see him
Well,
in front
well,
of the crowd,
those of us who
like
produce and handle a lot of things on a podcast know how much work Paul must be
really
doing.
worked and did such a great job, and they had so many fun little extra bits that you get when you see them live that are so worth, like, because like my husband was a little bit like, well, it's like a podcast, I don't feel like we should spend that much money on tickets. And then we went and it was completely worth the experience because they actually give you so much more in person, like video clips,
Then
bits that
right.
they do.
That's great.
I didn't ask a question, but I feel like had I wanted to ask a question, it would have been realistic that I could have like raised my hand and
They
gotten his attention and asked a question.
they
Like
go out, they go out of their way to talk to the audience. Now,
I really
tell us
do.
just a little bit about the movie. So, you watched a Friday the 13th movie to do this. Of the three of us, you like horror movies the
The
least.
least.
The least.
And I'm even terrified of Friday the 13th. I've only seen the one where Jason goes to space. What just tell us quickly
That's a
if you
romantic
recommend
comedy
if
to
you
people in Spain.
if you recommend Friday the 13th part 6, right? This is a very specific
Yeah,
one. This is
it,
the one
it
that's a comedy.
I would, yeah, and the reason I would recommend it is because, it really feels like an 80s film, but like the type of 80s film that when people try to do period 80s pieces and you're like, that's so kitschy, that's so over the top. This is actually like how people, like the costumes that they were dressed in, the choices that they were made felt like a parody of the 80s made in the 80s. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's so absurd, the actual movie. And it is quite funny. And the director does make an effort. And this is one of the things Paul Scheer actually said, and I agree with, is that it feels like the studio, had they just let the director really do all the stuff he wanted to do, it would be an even better movie.
Like, it would be a legendary horror comedy.
Yeah, because it would be a legendary horror comedy because there's a few really funny bits in it, or like moments, cuts or lines and things like that. But just like sprinkled throughout. But it's enough to kind of get you through with, and it's campy enough and it's dated enough that it's not actually scary. And I also watched it while I was extremely tired, which helps me not be scared because I'm sort of like watching it with one eye open, like about to fall asleep, and so that helps me not be scared.
Wow. Okay. Friday the 13th, Part 6. This is the one. Don't mix it up with Part 5 or 7.
No. I do recommend it, but I really only recommend it if you watch it and then listen to the podcast, because it's very funny. And they all loved the movie, like all three of them. So they were having a lot of fun talking about it. It wasn't one of those ones where they kind of go into it being like, this was a punishment, this experience, I want the 2 hours of my life credited back. Like, they have so much fun with it.
I love that. Okay, now before we get to Craig,
Friday the 13th movies, so they actually don't understand anything about the franchise, and so as confused as you are as a listener, that's how confused they are as hosts, and it's amazing.
That's amazing. Okay, so before we get to Craig quickly, life in Berkeley, how's it going?
So you know that, so in Berkeley, we're both, like in the Bay Area, both very tech heavy, but also very liberal.
Right, like you have washable diapers.
Okay, I have compostable diapers, not washable ones, but that's besides the point. So we're out for dinner the other night, and we're walking down the street in downtown Berkeley, and we see this like adorable little robot on the street. It's like a little robot with eyes, and it's got a flag sticking up, and it's a robot that delivers food. It delivers like burritos and like whatever, your bubble tea or whatever you order. And it's kind of going around the streets, and again, it's stuck on things, and it backs up and it moves forward, and these eyes that blink and make hearts at you, and it's like really cute robot. So we're all standing around watching this tiny little robot get across the street, and we're really excited when it gets across. There's like a crowd of like 5 or 6 people, and then some very Berkeley guy that's dressed in like fancy ashram garb. I don't know how to describe it. Like, he looks just like he just came out of like.
Sounds like a very accurate description of what somebody's wearing in Berkeley.
For the robot, and with all of his force, kicks the robot over and starts beating it up and screaming at it and having a fight with the robot.
Maybe he was like, "Where the fuck is my burrito?"
Just so you know, this is why the machines rise up against the people in the Matrix.
Like, literally, that's what people are standing around going, that's why the machines are going to eventually, destroy us because of you. And he's shouting at the robot. People are living they're in this slave labor so you can get your jamba juice, and he's kicking it, and like people are trying to like intervene and help the robot, but he's in like a full-on fight. We decided to walk away because I don't need to between a man and robot anger, but it was perfect.
Justice for BB-8. Okay.
Yeah, it was just very funny.
Now
Berkeley.
I'm gonna introduce you guys to Craig. Craig, welcome to the show.
This is just fascinating to sit back and listen to the entire time.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm just listening to the podcast now, and this is great because we also have I live in Washington, D.C. By the way, hi, guys.
Hi.
Anyway,
Hello.
we also have those food delivery robots.
We do?
Yeah, they're all around D.C., and it's like a weird thing because nobody can figure out.
Do you not live in D.C.? How could you not tell us this?
I know. Exactly.
Well, first of all, I don't like going outside.
But that's why these robots are perfect for you.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. They deliver it right to your house. They're locked, apparently. But then there's like this whole thing of like people are taking them and like breaking them open and stealing the food, and they don't know like, there's not really a charge. Like, it's just food that's out delivered in the, DC. It's not like you stole it from somebody. You stole it from a robot. A robot can't be upset about it.
Right, and I guess it's not assault.
It's not assault, exactly.
But it's
exactly.
Stealing if someone else paid.
It's stealing if somebody else's paid food, yeah, but they don't have cameras on them or anything. Apparently they have GPSs, but they don't have cameras. So they have cameras that track, I guess, the layout and everything to look for traffic, but they don't actually like have like faces on them or anything. Yeah.
It basically is the technology of a Roomba
Pretty much, yes. That's exactly what it is.
And based on how good my Roomba is, which gets stuck basically every day. Now, it seems that eventually they're going to have to then start arming them, and that's how we're going to end up,
with the rise
under the boot of the machines, because they're going to have to arm them to protect the burritos.
So we're about like 20 years from Arnold Schwarzenegger delivering me a burrito.
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm totally fine with that.
Shooting people who try to touch the burrito.
Totally fine with that.
So, Craig.
Yes.
I want to interview you a little bit. You are a member of the Take Two podcast family who we love having here on Friday Night Movie. But specifically, you are, I would say, one of the key people responsible for my dive down into the world of wrestling, because you host T3, the Take Two Takedown, Take Two's spinoff show about wrestling. And when I went to see Raw the first time, we started tweeting back and forth, and a few months later, I've got the WWE Network, and I'm sending my sisters wrestling videos basically on a regular basis.
So much for that gift, Craig.
You're so welcome, ladies. I'm so glad I could do that for you.
So one of the things, well, first of all, tell us a little bit about the shows. Tell us about the shows and your partners in crime, John and Jeffrey, the referee.
Right, because like you said, we're part of the larger Take Two network where we have like multiple spin-offs. We've got, the Spotlight one that Tony and Brian do. We got a whole Realm thing where they talk about like wizards and dragons and stuff that Roy does. And then I started talking about wrestling on the normal Take Two show and realized that nobody really cared. That were my fellow co-hosts.
My sisters
shocking.
My sisters
Shocking.
are like, I feel like this is where this might be go.
I am appalled.
Appalled, isn't it? It was just so disrespectful from them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then me and the other Take Two host, John, decided we'd start our own just weekly wrestling spinoff. And so we've been doing it about 2 years. I think we're coming on now. And it's the same thing. Anytime we can get somebody hooked into wrestling because they listen to Take Two and they're like, oh, look, movies and Netflix and all this fun stuff. And then, hey, by the way, go listen to these idiots talk about wrestling once. Mm-hmm. And then they do it, and then we hook them in. And, now they become like Shy, where we text each other like every Monday and Tuesday night all about wrestling.
That is accurate. And I have to say, there are weeks where I won't watch any of the shows live, but I absolutely listen to your show every week because I love the recap and I love the banter and the fun in which you guys talk about it, but also talking a little bit about behind the scenes and the storytelling. As a pop culture fan, it's like more exciting to me than golf. There's no storyline in golf.
That is true. And I will let you guys know in on a secret. Over these 2 years, there's also been plenty of weeks where I don't watch it either. And we just completely go off of the one person that watched it, and I just pretend I watched the whole thing. And nobody ever is the wiser until they listen right now.
Well, there you go. Breaking news here. So
breaking news.
There is an episode of Friday Night Movie where I showed my sisters the legendary Cream of the Crop promo and had Lily
from Macho Man, yes.
From Macho Man.
Oh my God.
I would love, it would be a deep honor if you could explain to my
about the amount of it makes you wonder about the amount of cocaine use in the 80s.
So much cocaine and steroids.
Terrifying.
And, everybody
and
was constantly
oil.
roid raging and high and on speed at the same time.
So, could you explain to my sisters how, to pop culture people who don't care about wrestling, what the role of the promo is? And then my really big ask here is, it would be a great honor for us if we could have a Friday Night Movie promo from a promo master like yourself.
I'll see what I can do about that. But yeah, the whole idea of the promo, and honestly, it's probably one of the more entertaining parts of wrestling, especially when you start going back into the late 80s, the 90s, that kind of stuff. It's just the fact that they are basically selling you on why they're going to beat up that person. And sometimes it gets super deep and personal. Sometimes it's just obviously everyone's high on cocaine, such as the Macho Man Cream of the Crop one. And especially if you go back and you watch some of those old Macho Man or Hogan or Ric Flair, I mean, the amount of steroids and cocaine and speed and uppers that are probably just filling the backstage area that they would never admit to now. But everybody was just so intense to try and get you to watch whatever it was, the Saturday night, Saturday morning superstars, or, what was Monday Raw then for Raw is War. Their whole job was just please, watch my fight. Pay at that point, $40, $50 for WrestleMania or SummerSlam to watch it, and they just do their best, even if they start breaking blood vessels in their forehead and their noses, because they just scream so loud. It's great. I love it. I don't know how anyone can not watch those and not be entertained.
Okay, so if you were going to do a wrestling promo for Friday Night Movie, you just give us a little dabble. Imagine the scene. It's 1984. Mean Gene Okerlund is holding the microphone to your face, and the hot lights are on. There's a generic backdrop with just the logo.
I'm feeling this. Now, I will say, I'm going to move the mic away from my face a little bit because you have to scream.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't, have any effect. So I'm warning all of your Friday Night Movie listeners and your two poor sisters that I'm probably going to scream into the microphone now.
That's okay.
Just so they're ready.
Do it.
Folks, we have here Friday Night Movie. The top 3 podcasters in all the world. They are the Rolex wearing, the diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying son of a gun, and they have a hard time keeping those podcast numbers down. So something like that.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever Friday Night Movie wrestling promo.
Thank you.
Now, you don't only follow wrestling, you also are one of the official correspondents for Riverdale, watching Riverdale in the D.C. area for the CW.
Right, obviously. Those two go very well together, so it makes total sense that the same two people that host wrestling are also the same two, because we, as Take Two, we're the official podcast for DCW 50 here in D.C., so we do a weekly show. And
both are soap operas with a lot of violence.
Exactly.
Wrestling is the less violent of the two.
It's the less violent, and with some of those boxing episodes they have, it's really not that much less violent. Yeah. But we do a weekly recap episode for all of the CW shows, and me and John, who host Take Too Takedown, we also cover Riverdale and we cover Charmed, because obviously we should. And we already are excited to cover Nancy Drew and Katie Keene, which are both going to be coming on this year too.
Wow. Oh, so you really have the Archie universe cornered.
Exactly. For some reason, no one else in the Take Two universe wanted to take it on out of the hosts except for me and John, so we're all in.
Okay, so before we get into some drama, I just want to talk a little bit of news. Streaming services, Lily and Becky, when is it just too much? Because I feel like Apple TV...
Like a year ago, 2 years ago.
I'll take
10 services ago.
I'll take the Disney one because they own everything, but Apple TV, really, I wish they would have just bought one of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like merge. Do a merger. All the phone companies are merging. They merge all the streaming services.
No, Disney legitimately makes sense because they own most of the content that's out there now. Between ABC, Disney, Fox, Pixar, like they own all of it, so fine.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Disney ended up buying one of the other ones at some point anyway.
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, one of them they're going to make enough money. I don't know. Now, did you guys sign up for the Disney Plus with the cheap Labor Day sale that they had?
Oops.
What?
Because that's what we all did at Take Two.
Should have done
that. Because they had a sale that you could buy 3 years for $140.
What?
Which is
that's
basically
crazy.
it's like $350 a month or something like that. Yeah.
That is
right
some
now,
predatory undercutting of prices.
Oh, yeah, because they did. I think they're coming out, it's supposed to be $7.99 a month. I think when it drops, and this was going to equal out to about $350 a month. So it was a one cost of $140, and I have it for the next 3 years.
Oh, wild! We're gonna have to put Mom on getting us that discount if we can.
Yeah, my mom can definitely get a retroactive discount from any department store, so she can do it.
I have total faith in her then.
So Apple TV though, they're gonna create content. Now you see, like YouTube Red wouldn't have gotten it except once we discovered Cobra Kai. It's worth owning that service just for that.
Which is now gone. There is no YouTube Red anymore.
Oh, it's YouTube shutting Premium?
Down. Yeah, well, they're shutting the doors now. They're not even having people pay. It's supposed to be at the end of October. It's completely done, and everything's just going to be free, including Cobra Kai.
Oh, wow. I guess we've been paying for no reason for a while. Okay, I hope they have a bonus for those loyal customers. So Apple TV is going to try to entice you with some content. I'm going to describe the different shows that are available, and we're going to play like a speed round of Buy, Rent, Meh. Now, Craig, do you know how to play Buy, Rent, Meh?
Oh, come on.
Of course you do. You played it with us. You played it with us.
I love this. I love your guys' show. I listen all the time. I know what Buy, Rent, Meh is.
So we don't even have to...
I have to just interrupt you. Mom has come in once already. She needed me to plug in her phone.
So the over
no other charge.
But how much is
I had to plug in her phone just now.
She wants to be on the show.
She wants to be on the show so bad.
So bad. Just let her on. Just let her on.
So okay. So
the time.
So here's a show starring Haley Steinfeld, which is like a plus for me. But it's about Emily Dickinson, who's a writer. Which for me, like already, you're saying it's a movie.
What? A writer?
Well, it's about books. You already lost me. So
right.
I'm gonna give a big meh to anything about books. What do you guys say? Emily Dickinson, Haley Steinfeld, buy, rent, meh.
Yes.
If it's Haley Steinfeld going back to doing more serious stuff like True Grit, I'm interested. If it's Haley Steinfeld doing Bumblebee, less interested. So what kind of Emily Dickinson portrayal is this?
I don't think
there are Transformers in it.
Yeah, but we're not going True Grit. We're not going True Grit either.
Yeah,
because if you watch the trailer, she's like twerking at some point. It appeared.
That's what I'm saying.
So I don't know where this one's gonna fall.
We're gonna go a solid rent. Because I would maybe check it out, but it does not sound like a buy.
It's not something I'm gonna pay for a service for to watch.
That's fair. Craig, how about you?
Yeah, I'd completely agree. It's a rent. It's not worth getting the Apple Plus or whatever they're calling it just for that. Yeah.
So Haley Steinfeld in general is a buy for me, even in her.
You have like a soft spot for her.
Yeah, even in her movie Barely Lethal, where she and Sansa Stark are spies.
Nobody. That's not a real movie.
It's a
you
real
dreamt
movie.
that.
That's a real movie.
You
I
went
saw it
to
on a plane.
sleep, dreamt about that, and woke up.
But the premise is so much not for me that I'm gonna have to give it a meh. So let's go with the next one is called Truth Be Told. It's about families touched by crime, starring Octavia Spencer and Lizzie Kaplan.
Interesting. Weird pairing.
And I'm giving you the shortest possible description on purpose.
Touched by crime meaning what? Like, are they investigating crimes? Are they social workers dealing with victims? Because no.
Didn't get that far.
Is it like a mind hunter? No.
All right,
No,
so what do you think? If I told you
pass.
Octavia Spencer, Lizzie Kaplan, families touched by crime.
I love Octavia Spencer. I'd see her in anything. And Lizzie Kaplan deserves to be on something because she's great, but I'm not sure about this combo.
But I'm not paying. Again, this is not enough to get me to pay for the service.
I don't need another true crime.
I mean,
I need
obviously, we're working up to Jen Aniston and Reese because I'm paying for that shit.
Craig,
Yeah.
Craig, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't even one. Forget the fact that I wouldn't pay for this. Even if I did pay for the service, I'm probably not going to watch it anyway.
Okay,
like,
so
let's be honest.
So that's a solid meh. That's a solid meh. Meh. All right, so I'm going to meh that one. Also, I just don't need another new crime show, true crime show. Okay, now this one, the only note I have is it's called Servant, and it's M. Night Shyamalan.
Never.
Oh, that guy should not have a TV show.
We've already given him too much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Take some of it back.
His whole purpose is the twist at the end. I'm not watching 10 to 13 episodes of a show for a twist in the last
Netflix is slow? You think Netflix is slow on the pickup? No way.
I'll say this. I like the Unbreakable Glass split
those
movies.
are great.
I mean, Glass was the weakest, but it was still kind of cool. I'd like to see him do like some sort of actual comic book universe without the twisty twists, but it seems that he can't really survive without the twists, so not gonna go for that. Okay, now For All Mankind. This one's really funny to me because it's like Amazon had What If the Nazis Won? Well, this one is What If the Soviets had won and beaten the U.S. to the moon?
Oh, yeah, they totally stole the story, yeah.
And this to me evokes the whole... there's this great Superman comic called Red Sun, where what if Superman had landed in Russia or been a Soviet? So I'm somewhat intrigued. I'm going to rent For All Mankind.
Nope. Hard pass. I mean, Becky's husband's Russian. Do you feel like loyal to the show? You should watch it.
I feel loyal to it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a rent for you just to see what would happen. See if he would say that, oh, it's pretty accurate.
That's probably what it's like living at your house. No?
Nah. I'm gonna mull that one over.
Greg, how about you?
About to me. I already live in enough of like a Russian world. I don't need to know anything over.
You know, I think my favorite part of Friday Night Movie is when Shy mentions something like a Superman comic book, and you guys just totally no-sell him on whatever it is he's talking about. Like,
Craig, could you please tell them what no-selling is? This is one of the great wrestling concepts about selling and no selling.
Is.
I was telling my little kids this the other day.
Where you don't even give him the satisfaction of commenting on his comment. You just pretend like it was never even said and just move on.
It's like if a wrestler does a move on someone, selling is showing that it worked and making it look like they got hurt.
And no selling is just completely standing there as in, you didn't really punch me because we don't really punch each other. That's pretty much what you guys did.
Is that done in wrestling like by accident? Like it's like, or on purpose to make the other guy look bad?
Usually it's done to make the other guy look bad, like if there's actual serious animosity between each other.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And then you have people that, were a little more known, especially this was more in like the 80s and 90s, they would come out and they would be the ones that like, there would be guys who wouldn't sell and they'd be like, okay, I will come out and then actually fight you. And I will punch you and body slam you, and you'll know that you're supposed to follow this, unwritten rule of selling, no matter how you feel personally. So they'll actually fight them. It was pretty good. Undertaker was one of the ones known to do that pretty well.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
See, I'm just giving you guys all kinds of knowledge.
I love it.
Wrestling applies to a lot of things. Okay, there's one called C about a virus that knocks out sight across the world.
That's with Aquaman.
You mean Aquaman?
Jason Momoa.
He's in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you not know? Shai, this is like the biggest thing that Apple TV is promoting.
It's like all over the news.
With Jason Momoa.
Is he the one that can see? Is he one of the people that can? Is he playing both brothers? Is it like?
It's kids that can see. It seems to be his kids, because like everybody in the world can't see. And then at some point he has a kid.
Bird Box,
and
but with Aquaman?
It appears kind of like Bird Box, except it's not that they're choosing not to see. They literally can't see.
No one.
The world is blind, so the one-eyed man is king. Is that?
look at you. Except it's a two-eyed kid, but close enough.
All right, Becky, buy, rent, or meh?
Oh, buy. I mean, you didn't ask Becky. I'm not Becky. Gotcha.
Becky, buy, rent, or meh? Blind Aquaman.
It seems pretty gimmicky to me, but again, I could try an ep if it has Jason Momoa because he's so charming. But
I mean, I'm already buying Jan Aniston, so I have to have the service, so I might as well just watch it.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it. Is that if I already have the service, because I'm obviously buying Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon.
Are you kidding
it doesn't
me?
matter what they're doing. They could just be painting a house, and I'd watch it. I don't care.
Reading the newspaper.
Oh my God.
Doesn't make a difference.
You guys are exactly what Apple was thinking.
Yep.
Yes. No, literally, I'm
100%.
Craig, blind Momoa?
No, I'm totally on board with this. I would watch a shirtless blind Momoa paint houses all the time. And I'm a happily married man, but he is a beautiful specimen of a person. So whether he can see or not, we all can. So it's fine.
You guys have turned me a little bit. I will rent this. I will rent this because it's Momoa.
But so far, I don't see you having any real motivation for getting this service.
No, I don't think so, because I'll say this. I'll just come up front. Morning show, Jen and Reese in a show that doesn't look particularly funny. I am not buying that.
Is it serious or funny?
Is it funny?
Serious. I think it's more on the serious side.
Funny.
It seems like, isn't it just like Big Little Lies in a TV show? Is that? I don't know.
Whatever. I mean, I don't care what they're doing, but it's not funny.
I feel like you should pay for this because I pay for Netflix and Chai pays for Hulu. And I feel like you need to start.
I can't watch Hulu. I pay for Spotify. I can't watch Hulu here. And I have my own Netflix and yours. I use both simultaneously. You can have mine. I'll give you my password. I also heard that did you send that article that Disney's going to prohibit you or something from sharing your account? Like that would mess up the ecosystem of the world. Like, that's not possible.
It's amazing we've gone as long as we have with people being allowed to share their accounts. That's actually because the content provider cable companies are terrible.
They wanted to get people as hooked as possible on their content, so when they eventually take it away from them, they'll be willing to pay for it. It's like giving free drugs to kids.
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. I am hearing someone's rustling. Is someone rustling?
Is shirtless Jason Momoa your drugs? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is someone rustling their phone? I feel like I heard some rustling on the last thing. Yeah. If it's not me, I can cut it. It's when I do the edits. It's fine.
Don't rustle in front of Cheyenne. God forbid you clickety clack on a keyboard.
No clickety clack. No clickety clack. Okay. All right. You know what's a show I would pay for?
Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon?
No. No, definitely not. The 90210 meta reboot, BH90210. If you told me I had to buy Spike TV to watch this show, I loved this.
That's like me with Schitt's Creek. At this point, I'd buy the network pop TV or whatever the fuck that is, so I can watch that show.
I loved this show. Has everyone here finished it?
Yes.
Define finish.
Okay, so we don't need to go all
Define finish. There's only 6 episodes.
Yes, I did not get a chance to see the whole last episode, but I read a synopsis, and it doesn't matter. We can talk about it. I clearly already knew that kid is not his son, because who just like walks up to somebody and is like, "I'm your kid," and they're like, "Okay, I guess I fucked an extra." Like, that was so absurd. So that reveal, like, it doesn't really matter. The story is the least important part of this. So you can recap the last step. I read the.
Oh
recap.
no, I'm not going to recap. I'm not going to
actually
recap the story as much as just say we've now finished the 6 episodes. We have, so it ends with spoiler alert. It ends with the pilot being picked up. But they have to film in Canada for budget reasons, and one of them will be cut from the show.
But if Shannon Doherty's making twice as much as everyone, wouldn't it just make sense for her to take the same salary as everyone? And
Don't go bringing logic into this show.
Just saying.
So
also, I'm pretty sure she's the one. I assume she's getting cut. I read an amazing article that said that she's only in 8 minutes.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you guys if you think it was her whole thing was filmed in one day.
Well, they said that she's mostly filmed on green screens, and it's like a total of 8 minutes counted where she's in scenes with everybody. So she's probably not even near them most of the time.
I'll go as bold as to say, especially since they gave Andrea, also known as Gabrielle Carteris, an actual role and storyline. I don't think you need Shannon Doherty. It actually gets kind of crowded. It's fine to have her in for the kind of comic relief where she played like hippie Carrie Fisher. That's the way I described her character. But
also, if she's not going to be a royal bitch and like a complete maniac, I'm like, what's the point? I like that they made her nice, but like then we're done.
I feel like she agreed to come on the show so that she could rewrite her reputation for fans as not being totally heinous. And if she's not heinous, that's kind of not fun.
Not fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We want to see her throwing things at the other cast members' faces.
So the show gets picked up. The romance for Andrea and Emily Valentine. What?
Andrea.
Andrea.
I don't know where
why Andrea?
Andrea.
I don't know.
Who's Andrea? Are you mom now? You
Andrea. Fine.
It's not Andrea. It's
Andrea Zuckerman. The romance for Andrea Zuckerman and Emily Valentine. We don't even try calling them by their real names. Like Brian Austin Green. How many times I've called him David Austin Green? And I think the show embraces the fact that they're barely different characters for us as people watching the show.
They lean into that, which is fantastic.
Yeah, they're basically just all exaggerated versions of their own characters from the show.
That's what the whole point with the writer debacle is that when she just gets a little bit of insight into who they are as people, she can...
My favorite thing on our text group for this show is Becky just writes, I can just like tell you one thing, shows don't have one writer. And I know that there's no point in like talking realism with the show, but Becky's like, there's like at least seven writers on a show. It's not just one writer. And then after that, I couldn't stop thinking about that.
Well, there were two, but one of them impregnated Jason Priestley's wife by coincidence.
Writers.
Oh.
Okay, so we get to the end of the show. This is a question I have for you all. Which character won the show? Like, if the show was
Tori Spelling.
Tori Spelling.
Wow, okay.
100%.
Go for it. Pick another name. I will battle you.
Not even that. I read a thing that said that like I'm shipping real hard Jenny and Tori. Like the two of them together. When Jenny Garth taps her boobs and goes, "These aren't real either," that was pure gold. And when Tori bumps into her and she's like, "Oh my god, I peed a little bit," or whatever. That's like, to me, that's genius.
I mean, they could totally do their own spin-off show.
100%.
And I think people would watch it. Yeah.
They're fantastic together. Yeah. Sorry. So go ahead. Who for you two gentlemen was your brought it?
Now, while I enjoyed Tori Spelling, and I did enjoy Kelly, and like I said, I think they could do their own show. I think if anybody's going to come off this with doing something else, it's, the aforementioned David Austin Green. Because I think he came off as like an actual person, and, everybody's like, hey, he kind of pretty much looks the same. He's just kind of hotly older and hotter. And so he's probably going to do another movie or something else based on this, whereas everybody else, they're just going to stay here or do Sharknadoes.
I will say I actually really agree with you that what I enjoyed about his character and his performance is that it seemed like it was just he was being himself, and he wasn't trying, and he wasn't doing anything phony or fake. It felt like, oh, this is who David Austin Green really is.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Whereas David Silver was always trying so hard.
Right. And I associate, him from like the Megan Fox years where he just kind of seemed like, huh? What are you doing in culture right now?
Yeah, he was just there. Yeah.
Like kind of like honestly a little bit trashy. Like I didn't really get it. And then now seeing him on the show is actually really nice to be like, oh, like look at you just being a nice guy. And anyway, I do agree I enjoyed it, but nothing for me comes close to the joy that Tori Spelling.
I just have to tell you that that Gabrielle Carteris, how do you say her? Andrea, did just actually win the.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, she's the like president of the SAG actor in real life. She's been the president since 2016, and do you know who she beat out to win this year? Matthew Modine.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was a hotly contested fight at Red Circle.
It was like a very dirty election, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
I was reading something saying that like the show probably helped boost her to win.
She's great
to maintain her reign.
It makes me want her to be in charge of any guild that I could be in. I would want.
She seems very trustworthy with
and
good
very organized.
Very
and
adult.
Looks.
It's the glasses.
And looks a lot like our mom.
I have to say that's the only weird part of watching this show for me is that she really looks like our mom. It's very weird.
Like her worried face looks like mom's worried / surprised / falling asleep face.
A bit weird.
Now, I agree, by the way, Tori Spelling won the show. I think that, well, and Jenny Garth as a runner-up, it's clear that they are the ones who had the vision for this and were the most lighthearted about themselves. And you all know I'm an early adopter of Tori Spelling's show, So Notorious. Yes. Everyone should go back and watch that show.
It's true.
No one should go back and watch that.
No, she is so much more talented than she ever was on I Know.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think for me, what was so surprising about this, truly surprising, I can't believe how much I like the show, is that it is the first time I have seen a reboot, quote unquote. I mean, because this is somewhat of a reboot, that actually is different and brings something new to the story that you didn't get previously, that opens it up to...
it's like episodes if everybody was from Friends.
It's such a great concept.
They got all everybody to act like themselves, but like different, like not real versions of themselves, like the way you get the insight into Matt LeBlanc on episodes, but it's all of them, and we all like if you loved the show as a kid, then there's just so much nostalgia. It's like a nostalgia bath. It's so good. And the writing's good. The writing's pretty good, right?
It's
a lot of zingers.
So, okay, nostalgia bath. Allie loves the show. Every time the song turns on, she smiles. Yeah, she smiles. Like, I pause it. Like if she has to walk out and do something, I pause it so she can hear it because it makes her just so happy.
So
with the guest stars, what did you think of the various guest stars? You had Emily Valentine, you had the mother, you had Ray Pruitt.
Great.
I felt like there was too much Emily Valentine.
A bit too much Emily Valentine.
She drove too many parts of. She drove too many parts of the show.
That's a good point.
Too much revolved around her coming into a room and like telling them what was happening.
Well, maybe is she really a TV executive, and maybe that's how they got the show greenlit, and then part of the deal is that she had to be like on the show. Like that's a theory.
I don't think she's actually a TV executive.
That's a big stretch if she is, but it's possible. I don't know. I don't think the mom's really a therapist.
She might be. I mean, at this point, I think this is more of a reality show than we are aware of.
All right, predictions. If there's a season 2, what do you guys predict for season 2?
Okay, Kelly and Brandon, something's gonna have to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Do you think Donna and David are gonna get together?
No.
Each have so many kids, and like I just don't see them breaking up their actual fake TV show marriages to get together. But I do feel like Kelly and Brandon are gonna rekindle briefly, only for something explosive to tear them apart. You know, that love-hate. I don't know. I think there's gonna be a lot of shenanigans filming in Canada. A lot of like funny Canadian, playing into the whole fact that they're shooting in Canada because they're not going to try and hide it. You know, whereas a lot of other shows try to hide the fact that they're shooting in Canada.
I would love to see them all adjusting to Canada. That would crack me up. Plus, because Jason Priestley's Canadian, the amount of jokes that they could make at his expense would be incredible. Craig, how about you? What do you see happening in season 2?
Well, I'd actually be interested if they did do it and they did film in Canada, but still pretended like it was Beverly Hills. So you have them, you know, in the dead of winter having to wear California-style clothes with like fake palm trees behind them, because I think you got a whole another slew of, you know, jokes and scenes and, you know, storyline you can do that way. I think we all agree that Shannon's probably the one gone, and she should be, because she really didn't bring that much to the show. But it's weird because I obviously watch the show if it comes back, but I don't want like 13 or 22 episodes of this show.
6 is right.
I don't think it's going to to be that good.
6 is right. 6 is exactly right.
6 was genius of them. Nobody's watching 17 to 20 of these episodes.
There was barely enough story to keep it together for 6 episodes.
Just enough to pay Tori's mortgage bills.
And I
for real.
While they're filming this pilot, why are they all staying at a hotel? Did I miss something?
I was wondering that, because in my head I'm like, maybe they it's just too far to get to the set. Though I'm pretty sure they all live in LA.
I feel like, don't they all live in LA? So what's this like weird hotel clubhouse they're all living in? I don't know. No one knows that wasn't explained. I didn't miss something when I stepped out of the room.
That's where people make shows. In hotel bars. I don't know.
Right? Don't all casts of shows just live in the same place together? Isn't that how TV works? I mean, I assumed when I went to school that all teachers just lived in the same house together. So I assumed
that's fair.
It's almost like the person who wrote this believes that. Like that's like it was their first time writing a show, and they thought, and then we all live together in a big fun hotel. No? Okay. All right.
Well, speaking of a cast... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say... No, go ahead.
I was going to move on to Riverdale, but if you don't want to... Then...
No. How could you... None of you mentioned Denise Richards, who got her start.
Well, I didn't know at what... I didn't know at what point you got into the show.
No, I read the recap, so I know everything.
It was a great bit because I personally enjoyed the takedown of Anna the writer. Like, they had built her up throughout the whole show as this sort of modern, you know, plucky character, and then by the end of the show, the way she sort of brushes off Ian Ziering, she's not interested in, not even that she's not interested in him, she's happy to use him, but he's too old for her, and she gets fired for not being a good writer because everybody hated the pilot, because there's no way she was a good writer. I didn't believe it. Right? She didn't even write the show well in the first place. She had to have Ian Ziering save it for her. So she increasingly became an unpleasant character, so I enjoyed the takedown, and the Denise Richards part was the final nail in that coffin.
Yeah.
She was on the original Nino.
Right.
In one episode.
But she looked like she had a Joker's Smilex gas face, because her face was all tight and obviously had some work done.
She's a real housewife of some place.
Of Beverly Hills.
Of course she is.
Oh, is it Beverly Hills?
She a housewife?
Okay. She is a housewife, yeah. But apparently comes off very well. The official housewife correspondent of our podcast, Katie Jones, reports that she is one of the likable housewives on that show.
Wow, Denise Richards is likable. You know things are tanking when.
She seems like a nice person.
No. Not really. Does she?
I mean, I'd pick her in the her or Charlie Sheen battle if that's what you're asking me.
I would pick her, but then you still have to think about someone whose judgment led them to Charlie Sheen.
Charlie
So
Sheen's a very charming man. Okay. Riverdale, a show that could use Charlie Sheen in a cameo role 100% is Riverdale.
great. Who would he play?
Who would he
be
play?
like a forgotten serpent or something?
Frere Poutine. I don't know, like the.
He'd obviously be the former leader of the Serpents.
Oh yeah,
before Jughead's dad took over.
Yeah, like assume. It's saying like he would be the new what's her name? It's not Pennywise because that's from It. But
Penny Poison, Penny.
Who's the bad lady?
Penny Rattlesnake, whatever her name was.
What's her name?
The bad lawyer.
So the evil serpent who like.
The one who gets almost killed and then has like an eye patch or something.
She's like missing an eye. Like Jughead takes her eye or something.
Oh my god, I heard
this show is
together.
Ridiculous when you think about talking about it.
I heard that
she and Gina Gershon have a huge battle at the end. They like try to murder each other.
So okay. Let's just talk a little bit. Spoilers for season 3 abound in this next. I'm going to just throw a couple of concepts out here. And then I'd like Lily to try to make sense of it. So in the final couple of episodes, it is revealed that one of the villains in the show is harvesting organs of kids, has reanimated the dead body of, or not reanimated, but is holding the dead body of Jason Blossom, the brother who died in the first season, just like keeping him propped up in formaldehyde for people to talk to. And
what do you mean, sis?
I think so.
I didn't mean to see the last episode, but that's
and what do you mean talk to him? Like to get fortune?
I'm going to ask Craig to explain that in a second. But
is he alive?
No, this was more fun trying to hear you explain it.
And then after the episode ends and they survive whatever hunt of the children that happens because Cheryl Blossom's mother tries to hunt them in the woods, they survive and they make it, and then they flash forward to the following spring where all you see is Jughead, Archie, Betty, and Veronica in front of like a fire burning their clothes, and they're all covered in blood, and then the season ends and they're like, we can never talk about this ever again. So what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I have to cut you off because Jughead isn't there.
Oh, he isn't there?
It's Archie, Betty, Veronica, because they take Jughead's hat and they throw it in the fire and they say, we can never speak about this again, a la I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then they go to them clinky milkshakes and pops.
Did they kill Jughead?
No,
we don't know. That's what we don't know.
Jughead's death. I bet you they have to fake Jughead's death.
I mean, they've already faked Archie's death at least once, right?
Who's the Gargoyle King in the end?
Oh,
it was Cheryl Blossom's mom.
Cheryl Blossom's mom.
Was the Gargoyle King.
Which, to me, actually is one of the great payoffs, because in the episode of The Midnight Club, which is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen, one of the great moments of that is Madeline Patch playing Cheryl Blossom's mom and doing her weird nerd dance. And I feel like the weird nerd dance is so much more powerful when in the end the person who did that nerd dance is the person who's been ruthlessly murdering everybody in town of all ages.
Because she was using Chick, the supposed half brother of Betty. She like pulled him up, and that's who she was using to do her dirty work.
I want you to maybe just play this last 5 minutes back to you guys, so you can hear the direct that you three listen to and watch on television
when you watch it,
because this is phenomenal. Now I need to ask a pertinent question. Is this a show you would actually recommend to somebody, or it's either like you're in or you're out?
The way I recommend it to people is you have to watch it to get through season 3, because season 3 is a pièce de résistance. I don't know if they'll ever achieve what they achieved in season 3 again. It was so crazy.
I think you're either in or you're out. I don't think it's a show you recommend.
Yeah,
Find other people who watch it that you like are at a dinner,
like a little club.
Like, what are you watching? I don't open with Riverdale.
Now, are the youngins watching this? Is this something that like teenagers are watching?
I think
oh dear God, I hope not.
People in their late 30s and 40s. Actually.
Is it that like when we were kids, would we be in high school watching this show?
I mean, this show makes 90210 look like Romper Room.
Yeah, for real.
There isn't an
really
episode
does,
that goes by without it.
Rhino was so racy when we were kids.
Oh yeah, Mom.
Really, Mom? Oh my God, we've talked about this before. She wouldn't shut up. Oh, that Kelly, no, girls, we had to kick her out of the room. I stopped watching with her. She'd drive me nuts.
Okay, if you were doing a mashup of Riverdale and 90210, who is the Archie of 90210? And remember the way Archie is portrayed in Riverdale, I would say as pretty, but brawny, but also dumb as rocks.
Steve?
I think. Well,
no, I think Steve's too dumb.
You think Steve's dumber than Archie?
I think so. I think Archie at least has some intelligence. Talent.
I don't think Steve is pretty enough because in his mullet years, it's just unacceptable.
That's a good point. That's a good
maybe
point.
David is the.
I'm gonna. I will go. I would go maybe David because of the abs.
That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Donna's Betty.
And here's the thing.
Brenda's.
Who's the emo jughead? Is it Dylan who's emo?
It's Dylan, I think that was the closest.
Or Brandon who was on the school paper with Andrea. Who is it?
Oh, so you're saying Jughead is actually a Dylan Brandon mashup?
Yeah, because Brandon was the intellect.
They're obviously the inspiration for him. Really, the only important part of this conversation, as is a shout out to our dear Lons, is that it seems like Betty and Bughead are back together in real life.
In real life.
They are. In real life, they are back together. Yeah.
They are back together. So, that was a close one, guys.
The world is safe. Don't worry.
For some reason, I'm bothered by the fact that they might break up, and I don't really watch the show. But they seem like a good couple. They're so pretty. Both of them.
They're a cute couple, and they're private, but just not private enough to promote the show.
Right.
Exactly. And it seems like in the trailer they have for season 4, it looks like everybody's back together because you got Betty and Archie, you got Veronica and Archie back together. You got Betty and Jughead being happy couple. So I'm assuming the first half of the season will be all happy and lovely for everyone.
The way that they free up Archie is just by shipping Josie off and being like, I guess she's going on tour.
No, the whole thing was, to use a wrestling analogy, they were, and cute. I'll have Craig explain this. They were putting over Josie by putting her in the relationship with Archie so that she can go and be part of her spin-off show.
Right, because she's part of the Katie Keene.
Would you like to explain the concept of putting someone over to my sister?
And I didn't realize she was getting a spin-off.
Yeah, they basically took Josie, put her into a main storyline that really she had no purpose in, except for Archie to be there and be like, hey, look at this girl. She's kind of cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, in a few months, you're going to have a spin-off show that she's like a major part of. And because it's Katie Keene, where like it's all takes place in New York.
And they do that. And they do that in wrestling all the time. You want to bring in a new wrestler and raise their program or raise their profile. They get in like a feud with someone that's really famous.
Exactly. And
sometimes
that's exactly what they did with it.
Exactly. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And sometimes people
put her into the center storyline in order to boost her, so she can now go off and have her own show, and people will remember.
And people remember who she is. Yeah. If you think about it, if they didn't do that, you barely saw Josie at all in that third season. If you didn't have that storyline,
does she warrant her own show, though, guys?
No, not at all.
No, I mean,
not watch it.
And as
we're supposed to.
And as you will watch in wrestling, sometimes they do that, and nobody buys that wrestler, and everyone just boos because they don't want to see them anymore.
Did you see Fighting with My Family, the movie?
I did see Fighting with My Family. I loved Fighting with My Family. It is a great movie.
I feel like there's like a niche of like, we need more wrestling movies. I love Glow. The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke is fantastic.
Exactly. Well, see, now we are in a wrestling good time of movies, because you got to remember, there was also like No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan and Ready to Rumble with David Arquette, which were horrible movies.
Hold on. I love Ready to Rumble. I love Ready to Rumble.
I think you're a very finite minority there, Shy.
I don't admit everything.
I love the final fight in that. I love the final fight in that movie.
Do you think you were always this sure of yourself, or it's just come with like adulthood for you?
Confidence. Crap you watch is astounding, Shy.
Exactly.
I will rule you. That's Oliver Platt's line. That's the only thing that's not super believable about that movie.
Is that Oliver Platt is a wrestler? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I do have to ask you guys about Riverdale. I don't know if you saw, but the first episode they're actually doing when they premiere is called In Memoriam, where it's all about Luke Perry dying. That's the entire first episode.
I thought they weren't going to kill him on the show.
No, they're killing him on the show. That episode is going to be all about how he dies. You know, they haven't said how or why, and they're dealing with it. And then the second episode,
Cheryl Blossom's
I think
mom.
it's
they got to make it serve the story if he's going to die.
That's what I think. I don't know if they're going to make it part of the story or just kill him.
But maybe they're covered in blood.
Maybe, I don't know. Shannon Doherty's in the episode. That's all I know.
Really?
What?
Yeah, she's coming into that episode. I don't know how. I don't know why.
Into the In Memoriam episode?
In the In Memoriam.
Is it a crossover, the one you've been waiting for?
I could only hope.
I mean,
if they come in and say, you know, he actually had a different life before he came to Riverdale, and he lived in Beverly Hills. That would be beautiful.
That would be
Here's the thing. Fred Andrews had been almost killed like 2 or 3 times already in the show. So if they're going to actually have him die, it really has to move that story forward. It has to be part of something bigger than just Archie moping, in my view.
That would be good. Wait, but I just want to bounce back to BH901 one more moment to say that I like that in that first episode they acknowledge without acknowledging, oh, we're not actually all here. But then I kind of wish at other points throughout.
They brought him up at least twice.
They mentioned
but
I don't remember that one.
They brought him up twice. One on that panel, and then, I mean, they brought him up twice, but then they moved on.
Moments throughout where they're missing him, but because I was missing him.
I could see that, but then that's almost like a serious note, and there was not really anything serious much about that show.
That's true.
About BH90210.
I'm
so
sure
all of a
those
sudden, if you
actors
brought it up,
are very sad.
Right, yeah. And honestly, I know you guys kind of talked about it before. I don't even know if Luke Perry would have worked on the show.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he agreed to it.
He didn't. Yeah, he wasn't going to.
I mean, I don't think even if he had agreed to it, I don't know how he would have fit in. Because, all I see him as is Fred Andrews, where he's all deep and brooding.
And he's terrific as Fred Andrews, and I'm not saying that that's going to be as iconic a role as Dylan McKay, but that performance is so solid, it is not a Sharknado situation.
You don't think Fred Andrews will necessarily hold the test of time the way Dylan McKay does. Yeah, Shy. Dylan McKay's slightly more iconic than his 3 seasons as Fred Andrews.
Well, that might be to us, but you got to look at people in high school now watching this. They don't know who Dylan McKay is.
I will say a lot of
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, he was so good at that as Pike. Yeah.
Pike. Oh, yeah. I wanted a whole. I mean, I would have loved more of him and Christy Swanson. Okay, well, as we wrap up, we love to do our shout-outs and our recommendations. I will kick off our shout-outs and recommendations, and I will give a shout-out to the Take Two podcast crew. Craig, thank you so much for being here. People should really check out that podcast network and the show, the Spotlight show, and Tony and Brian and Roy and even John, your co-host. You guys are fantastic. And
do you think Brian's gonna be jealous?
He is so jealous. I told him last week. He's so jealous. I love it.
We'll have Brian on again soon. Brian's been on twice already, and he's had me co-host. It's we will have him soon. Lily always asks for Brian. So in fairness, Craig, Brian also doesn't have the Riverdale the Riverdale expertise that you do. So
no, but he does. We do our mutual 90210 fans from back in the day. We've discussed our love of 90210 and Baywatch numerous times before.
I honestly think that we're just going to have to talk about 90210 on a regular basis now on the show. So.
I'm totally down with that. And then the best part about 90210, because me and Brian just talked about it yesterday, was when Kelly and Dylan first kissed, and Damn, I Wish It Was Your Lover by Sophie B. Hawkins played. And we were both reminiscing about how great of a scene that was, because Donna and Brenda were off in Paris, and that was the first time.
That was the best season of the show.
I love when they were in Paris.
That was the best season of the show.
We go to Paris.
The other shout out I want to give is to our dear friend Ash. She's one of my fellow co-hosts of the Gold Nerds. She and I have gotten back to start recording season 2 of Behind the Music. We already taped our Duran Duran episode yesterday. We are taping TLC tomorrow, and then we're going to include a couple of lost episodes in the season, which include our episode about the Vanilla Ice behind the music and the heart behind the music. So we're very excited to be back at this. We're going to probably drop like a whole bunch of episodes as a season 2 sometime later this year. And that's exciting. What I got. Lily, shout-outs, Rex?
Rex, I would like to say that we have started watching a show called Luther. That's old. It's off the air. But if you're into like serial killer, murdery kind of shows with like lots of good acting and a bit like I Jumped a few times, it's British drama. It's on my Netflix. I don't know if it's on your guys' Netflix. And you know,
it is. It's the one with Idris Elba, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's great. So far, I'm in season 2, and it's good. We kind of like had like a bit of a lull. We went through like The Boys, Mindhunter, Casa de Papel, Money Heist, or whatever, in like 2 weeks, and had nothing to watch. And I've always been curious, so I'm down.
That's very cool.
Recommended.
I'll say
murdery show gap in your.
I'll say if you're looking for a gap and you want to see something intriguing that you've never seen before, Dark Crystal. But I'll go into detail on that on another episode.
Do you have to?
Yes. I mean, I would like to because I watched the show with subtitles, with you explaining every scene to me, and I still do not understand a single thing.
I'm a few minutes away from the end of the last episode of the season, and that show is quite an achievement.
I'm just happy you're happy.
Can I just ask you a question? I read something yesterday, I think, that said that Mark Hamill's doing another voice of another bad guy on another show.
Oh, hold on a second. Mark Hamill.
Can't that poor guy get like a role where he appears?
So first of all,
not Star Wars.
Since Star Wars, Mark Hamill has become, Craig, please back me up on this, one of the most iconic voice actors of our time. He did the Joker in the Batman animated series.
We get it, but like, give the guy a person role. Somebody.
No, the problem with giving him any sort of person role is you only see Luke Skywalker.
I
have to say, I like old Hamill a lot. Have you seen Brigsby Bear, Craig?
He is good in that. He is good in that.
I want to see some
I'd buy him. I'd buy him as a non-Luke.
I'd like him maybe mentoring a young, late 30s, early 40s podcaster.
Cut to
working on soft, buttery tones with him.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we could just watch that.
About voice work.
Exactly. Becky, what are you watching? What do you recommend?
I think I've already recommended Great British Baking new season. I probably already recommended it.
You watched it with
Now,
my
wait
daughter.
a minute. Before we get into this, is it not annoying that it's every week they release a new episode as opposed to the entire series? Because I'm upset about that. Because I watch it as well.
I'm not. I miss the era of people having to wait for things.
No, I hate it.
It's crushing me. Every day I check back. I'm like, is it today? Is it today? Is it today?
I only want to watch that show with you, Becky, where you talk about their jeans. Like, I want to sit on the couch and watch it with you. This is the first season or whatever, that season we watched together, where you talk about the old host's jeans.
I tell you, Shai's younger daughter and I watch it like we're watching a full contact sport. There is like serious commentary, shouting, reviewing of old plays. Like, she and I are
For a 6-year-old, she has incredible recall of that show.
Incredible recall and baking knowledge.
See, I feel that there's a spin-off missing, Becky, where someone will be an American and come to the British Bake Off. So when they say make biscuits, like they will legitimately make Popeye's biscuits. And they'll be like, I don't understand. You meant cookies? Why didn't you say cookies? Like, I feel like that could be an entire person on that show that I would just enjoy.
Making the wrong version.
Just making the real version of stuff and not the weird British word for things.
Yeah, so that's back little by little.
That's a great storyline.
I don't know what they're getting out of withholding that show for me, but they're bringing them one at a time. So I'm watching that, and then all the other stuff we've mentioned already. So
I want to put a question. Quick, we got a new TV. We haven't got a new TV in my house in 11 years, and we just purchased our first TV in over a decade, and things have changed a lot. And it's a very large TV. It was on sale, so we bought it. And I feel like I need like a good rec of like what to see in 8K or whatever the fuck that is.
Nothing is available in 8K, Lily.
the guy was like,
the
"This
amount
is
at
the
which
best
the
TV
amount
ever.
at which you got
You need to
hoodwinked.
buy it."
By
Wait, I'm texting Shy. I'm like, "Should I buy this TV?" Shy's like, "8K doesn't exist." I go to the guy, "But it doesn't exist." He goes, "Yet? Doesn't exist yet?" Like, Shy, he says it's gonna exist one day. Shy's like, "You're an idiot."
and this is where like Lily is actually the Shy, because I would usually normally buy the big crazy technology
situation.
But I think
anyways, I'm putting out there into the Twitterverse, what should I watch on this big screen TV?
I think I'm looking. Well, have you seen Avengers Endgame yet?
I have not. Should I see that?
I think you should watch that in 4K, 8K. Also because I need to know what sense you make of the end of that movie.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good big action movie.
I'd also love to know after you see it. Have you seen Captain Marvel?
I have not. Should I see that?
You should watch Captain Marvel too.
Captain Marvel. Watch Captain Marvel first, and then Endgame, and then tell me what are the rules with Captain Marvel.
She's like all powerful in Captain Marvel, you said, but yet she can't like run around the block.
Oh, no. In Avengers Endgame, she single-handedly solves like everyone's problem, yet needs a squad. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, it's
because her squad is ladies. That's why.
One question. What are the...
Right. Women are less powerful. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Problem solved. Forget you, Twitter. I don't need your recommendation.
I don't need you.
All right. The big moment we've been waiting for. Craig, your
shout out to your way too much pressure now. This is way too much pressure. Now, I don't know if any of you care about this, but I will say on Hulu, the Wu-Tang, An American Saga.
I want to watch that. Is it a documentary or is it?
It is amazing. It's like a reenactment.
Awesome. I just can't watch it.
It's a reenactment of them, so it's different people playing all of them. But the kid, because it's when they're all younger, who plays RZA is amazing in the role. Like, and obviously the music's great and stuff like that. But I think they actually did a really good job, whether you know this true story of everything that happened and how they formed, or whether you don't. They did a really good job, but they're doing it weekly, which again annoys me, and releasing it on Woo Wednesdays, and putting it out. But I think they're 4 episodes deep now out of 8. So it's really good.
Is it a limited
definitely
series?
Worth checking out. Yeah, it's only 8 episodes. So that's all they're doing.
I'm very, very interested in that because I don't know a ton about them. I find all the characters so interesting and kind of mysterious. Like, is ODB a main character?
Yeah, he's in it. He's in it, and he's just the people they have playing all of them are really good. They do a really good job of, sort of emulating the real life characters without making it too over the top.
Were they involved in the making of it?
They were. RZA and GZA actually produce it. I think RZA helped write it.
I'm surprised he's not acting in it because he's himself.
I was going to say he's an actor. Mm-hmm. I was going to say I'm surprised he's not in it, but that's great.
He was great in Ghost Dog.
He's great. And on Californication. He's on Californication. He's great. Ghost Dog is one of the best movies.
I think I've seen GZA in concert. I've never seen more. I don't think I've seen any other Wu-Tang guys in concert, but that was a pretty awesome show. I in general love a good rap biopic. So I loved the Notorious B.I.G. one. I forget the name of that one.
Notorious.
Notorious. That was the name of it. I mixed it up.
Not that hard to remember.
I mixed it up with So Notorious with Tori Spelling.
Of course.
Easily confused.
I love that movie. I thought that was fantastic. Obviously, Straight Outta Compton, that was one of the best movies I saw that year. And another one that is not a true story, but I think it's like the Spinal Tap of rap is CB4, which I don't know if you've remember that movie with Chris Rock. It was
Chris Rock, of course.
It's from a long time ago. That movie ages really, really well. If you go back and you watch it, I watched it recently. It is a bitingly intelligent movie. It is really, really smart, and I imagine there are references to things that probably I didn't know about at all when I saw that movie the first time that now I get, because so much more of the background and the story of all the various rap stars is known that movie is I highly recommend going back and watching that movie to anyone who hasn't seen it.
All right, have you watched any of Hip Hop Evolution on Netflix? Now that we're in this whole hip hop talk,
no, I have
there's a show called Hip Hop Evolution and it's like a real documentary show where they talk about the various the rising up of rap, the rising up of hip hop, the Sugar Hill Gang coming into it, because they just released 4 new episodes in that series.
Ooh, I gotta check
2
that
of which all are about Biggie and Pac.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
And
I did just watch
East versus West. Yeah,
I did just watch Beat Street, which was really a nice experience. Beat Street from the '80s. Ray Donovan.
Oh yes, yeah. A great show.
Which I hope
great movie.
I hope that's featured in the documentary, because maybe it isn't. I don't know.
You'll see. You'll see.
All right, cool.
Don't worry.
All right. Any other shout-outs or recommendations, Craig?
And of course, listen to us, Take Two Podcast, and all of the various shows we have, the Spotlight, the Realm, the Wonderful Wrestling Show. You can follow us, Take Two Podcast. You can follow the Wrestling Show alone at Take Two Takedown. There's Clash of Champions tonight happening right now. The wrestling
pay-per-view. It started already? These things are like 12 hours long. It started
at 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So it started now. It'll probably go on for another, 8 hours. So you can watch it. You can talk to us about it. You can get into wrestling again, just like Shai did. And we can help you remember why it was so good.
It can be therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic for me. I find it very relaxing.
And when you try and talk to your sisters about it and they just don't care at all, you can text us and email us about it and tweet us about it, because that's what we're here for.
It's out of love.
It's out of love.
That's fantastic. And where can people follow you, sir?
Oh, and you can follow me. It's Nite Batman, Nite Batman, because I have a very weird, strange obsession with him, and that's what I'm going to be when I grow up one day.
Okay. Cool. All right. And Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
And Lily?
GTK Gomez on Twitter. That would be CHI.
I love that Becky's daughter calls you Tia Chichi now.
Yes, she does.
That the nickname has been
And your daughter was like, "Who's that?"
I meant to call you that this entire episode too, and I totally.
That's okay. You don't have to. Becky's kid does.
Of the nickname Tia Chichi. Well, she can say it. Wouldn't you rather she says a name instead of no name?
L's are pretty hard for a.
My son is 3 and he randomly goes, "Mommy, Lily, Willie." I'm like, just don't say that name. Just call me Mommy.
That's amazing. And you can follow me at Pancake4Table, Pancake the number 4 table, on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie. And the music will kick in our minds and hearts, and we will dance, and we will say the often lauded I love yous. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Oh, Craig.
So good to have you, Craig. It's fabulous.
Something just moved behind you.
It's a ghost?
I'm here alone. I'm assuming it was
Oh my goodness, this is the beginning of a horror movie. This is...
Beck, for real, and your weird blurred out shadow background? It's your hand blurred behind you. I was like, oh my god, there's something blurry coming up from behind your chair. This feature is not appropriate. It was so weird. I was like, oh,
you guys don't have your blur on.
No. Okay, wait. Try. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the story fast. So you texted me constantly during your back to school night, all the ridiculous shit that's hilarious. I guess you can't say it because people could listen from your neighborhood.
No, actually, they're bona fide. I went to a party last night and one of the dads was like, "I listened to your podcast."
You're like, "Shit."
And I was like, no. But it turned out he listens to. It turns out he listens to the Gold Nerds. He doesn't. I mean, he listens to a podcast that I'm on, but not this one.
Well, tell him to listen to this one, goddammit. Anyways,
So
I'm at the back to school afternoon. It was at 4:00.
Well, that's like, what? Well, that's school's already been out for hours for you guys. They only go to school for 2 hours a day in Spain.
No, they go for 5, but it's split up. I don't understand who they thought was going to have to go to this, but there was a lot of parents. I think somebody from every family represented, and I've never been to one because it's my first kid and he's and the principal of the school starts off the meeting and he starts telling the history of the school, and it's a Montessori school and it was started during a dictatorship, and I'm sitting there going, oh wow, where do I live? I don't live at home anymore. It's just a bizarre for me out of moment experience where he's explaining how the founders of the school had to like go against a dictator to get.
Well, I mean, your country was run by a dictator.
It was
not that long ago.
No, not that long ago.
Like more recent than a lot of other countries.
Right. And so he's like going on about how like the founders really wanted to do the Montessori method and blah, blah, blah. And he explains like the school is basically a house. It's multiple houses that were bought over time on a street and then like put together. And he's like, and then they had this building in 19 whatever, and then this other building, and then this building where the children, your kids are going to be going to school. This was we tried to purchase it, but then it was purchased by a bank, and then they sold it to a guy who ran a brothel for many years.
That's totally normal.
And all the parents are like, mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I remember walking by the street and being like, that's so weird that there's a kids' school and then clearly a brothel. And I moved here, and I remember I'd walk by and be like, I would never send my kids to that school.
It was
next to like
how long ago?
It's got. I think he acted like it was a lot longer, but it wasn't. It has to be like maybe 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Like that's not that long ago. And I don't. There's a name for a brothel here that they call it a whiskey bar.
Wait, but in Spanish, you got to say the Spanish word.
A whiskeria.
Whiskeria.
So that's what we would call a brothel, and the principal's like, so this used to be a whiskeria where they didn't come to drink whiskey. And I'm like, how is all, like, this is such a weird story to be telling on back to school night. And then it was hilarious. And he's like, and then finally, we had a great relationship with the owner of the brothel.
And now the teachers are former prostitutes.
We had a whole staff as soon as we bought it. And he's like, and the owner would always say, don't worry, when you guys close, that's when we open. I was like, aren't we supposed to talk about curriculum here? What is going on? And he's like, eventually we bought it from them and turned it into the preschool. That's where your kids are.
That's amazing.
And I was like, that's what this building was. I was like, yes, I didn't remember my judgmental pre-parent self who said they would never send their kid to school here.